Damn you, Canon Test Drive. Today we are taking a look at the Canon RF 70-200 f2.8 L IS USM. Hello, Richard here. Welcome back to another video and back to the channel. And yes, today we are going to take a look at the Canon RF 70-200 2.8. I will give you my thoughts on it, what I think of the lens. We're going to take a look around the lens, and at the end of the video, stay tuned because I'm going to show you some photos that I've taken, but I'm going to show you the unedited one straight out of camera plus the edited one side by side, so you can see how this lens performs before Lightroom has worked his magic on it. So hang around for that near the end when I've spoken about the lens. Now at the start of the video, yes, I might have cursed Canon Test Drive, not because it's a bad service, not because they rip you off or anything like that, but because they sucker you in. They give you a deal where you can, it's a scheme where you can hire a camera or a lens or certain Canon equipment for 48 hours free of charge, and you can extend that if you want to pay a daily hire rate for it. And you get to use it 48 hours. It's basically a try before you buy. I thought I would try it, and I have bought it, but I deserve it. I've earned it because my other lens, my EF 70-200 is now, it's the Mark 1. It's 25 years old. Still does a great job. 25 years old. I think I've owned it for 13 years, but I think it was released in 1995 or something. Like I say, it does a good job, but I've changed the R6 and I want to start collecting lenses for the R6 and therefore the RF mount. So I'm in the process of, whenever the time is right, of upgrading all of my stuff. It's my job, so I need to make sure I have the best lenses to get the best photographs. So how does a Canon Test Drive work real quickly? Well, here's their website. You basically select what you want, choose the dates that you want. You pay a deposit and any extra days hire. If you choose to add on any extra days, you just pay for those extra days. You don't pay for the first 48 hours. You get it, you use it, and you send it back, or they collect it from you. And then your deposit is refunded. But what's more, if you go on to purchase what you tried, they will refund you the extra hire days. And I think I got 5% cash back as well. So the whole thing was pretty good. Now this video is not sponsored by Canon Test Drive. I mean, why would they, with a channel with less than 200 subscribers? But it's a really good scheme if you are thinking of buying a camera and you're not 100% sure and you want to try it out first. Check out their website. I'll put a link in the description below, and you can see for yourself, and if you think it's right and you want to hire something, then go ahead and borrow it for 2 days. If you've just got one off job and you thought, I need a lens for this job, let's try it. I might want to buy it, but at least I've got the lens for that job. You could do it for that as well, I guess. We are now going to take a look at the lens itself. So like I said, most of my work is done using either 100-400 or a 70-200, and the other lens I've had for 13 years. So like I said, I am due an upgrade. It is a 70-200 zoom lens. It is fixed, or it can be fixed at f2.8 through the whole range if you want it to be in low light, things like that. It has 9 aperture blades, all the boring stuff, 77mm filter size, which is the same as the original lens. So if you've got any filters that you need to transfer, you should be able to do that quite easily. And it weighs just under 1.2 kilograms with the lens hood, I think, but without the lens caps. And that's almost 300 grams lighter. It's 300 grams lighter than the IS version. This isn't the IS version, but it's 300 grams lighter than the IS, the old IS version, which I've got, but it's in a repair shop somewhere. I have another video coming up that I'm planning on doing, which is going to be a comparison between these two lenses to see which one is the, I think we're going to know which one's going to be better, but how much better? You know, after all these years, is it head and shoulders above the rest? So stay tuned for that video. But for now, we are going to take a look at the lens and what's on it, and have a closer look at the lens itself so you can see the buttons and the dials and stuff. So it has a sort of mushroom style lens hood, which they've gone over to white lens hoods instead of the traditional black one. That's fine. We're going to take that off for the time being. It has the little, I don't know if you can see that window on the side, if you need to adjust filters or get in there for some reason. There is a focus ring, which you would use if you are in manual focus, and there is also a, love that noise, control ring. If you want to assign the controls to that, like maybe your aperture or exposure or something like that, you can assign it to the control ring. I tend not to at the moment. Maybe I'll give it a go one day, but never done it before. And it has a zoom ring. Now you can see, oh, I've just locked it. You can see how short and stubby that is in comparison to the old one. But that is because it's an external zoom, so it does sort of extend to virtually the same amount, the same size when fully extended to get that 200 range. Now the only thing that is different major on this is the throw, and that is the distance it takes to get the zoom ring from 70 up to 200. If this is, I'm hoping this is focusing on my fingers, it may not be, but you're basically having to go sort of like a whole quarter, which is slightly more than you have to do on the old 70-200. Like I say, I'm going to try and do a comparison, so I'll cover that in more detail in another video. But it's smooth, it zooms pretty smooth, and when I used it in my swimming job I had no problems with it being an external zoom. It was fine. Onto the side of the lens there is a, not sure if we're focusing, but a lock, so that it locks that zoom and it doesn't creep or you know, extend when you're traveling or walking around. And then we come around and we have 4 other buttons. We have this one here, which is the focus distance or the focal distance. It's got a 2.5 to infinity, so if you want to focus from 2.5 meters away to infinity, you set it on that. There is a full the other option is a full option, where it will focus as close as the lens is able to, so it will zoom through the whole range. I'm going to have it on the 1.2 to infinity setting, because most of my subjects are going to be 2.5 meters away from me, and I don't need to focus that close. If I ever do, then I'll flick it, I'll change it. Next is an autofocus and manual focus button, which is pretty straightforward. And there is finally a on-off stabilizer switch, which is there. And there are 3 modes for the stabilizer settings. I'm going to read these because I don't want to get it wrong. Now the first, mode 1 is for still subjects, which can handle any kind of shaking. So if you're shaking and your subject is still, it should be able to, I don't know why I shake like that, it should be able to focus without, ignore the, it would stabilize the shake basically. Mode 2 I think uses different axes and is for panning shots of moving subjects. It's all technical, above my head slightly, but that's what you'd use if you're shooting moving subjects. Now mode 3 is, according to Canon, as follows, and I'm going to read this. This is for shooting subjects that move unpredictably. The mode continuously calculates the amount of camera shake and operates only during the exposure, not when the photographer is checking the composition. Some pros mention that the image in the viewfinder feels unnatural due to rebound when the camera is moved while IS continues to operate. Mode 3 is recommended for such users. So that's what you would use mode 3 for. I always tend to shoot at 8, 9, 1000 shutter speed, so I don't really use the IS that much, because I have a feeling on the old lenses it kind of a little bit slowed down the focusing, but maybe it's different these days. I will try it and I'll see if I notice any difference, but I'm not expecting that I will. So that is basically the lens. We've looked at the zoom, the rings and the buttons. It feels pretty solid. It doesn't feel as solid as this one, which you feel like you could hammer a nail into wood with this thing, but I can't see, it still feels a really nice lens to hold. It's got a good balance, which will obviously be affected by the zoom, so it's worth bearing that in mind if you're using a tripod or something. Let's put that back on again, and I'm going to quickly show you some photos that I've taken. So I'm going to jump into Lightroom now, and this is where you're going to see the some before and after images of some photos that I took. I went to a wildlife park. This is when I had the hired lens, and not this actual lens, but the one I hired from Canon. So I only had a day with it, so I didn't get to do that much. But wildlife park, you can see the deer here. Left one is straight out of camera. The right one is edited slightly, just a quick sort of basic edit that I've done. And they're pretty good. You can see there's a nice even exposure. It does tend to be a little bit darker around the edge, but you know, there's no cause for complaints. For me, you know, it's exposed well, the colours are good, the contrast is good, it's sharp, and that's, like I say, the one on the left is without any sharpening at all. The one on the right is a little bit of sharpening. The next photo, it picked out the owl rather well through, you can see, if you look at the bottom here, you can see there's wire, it's shooting through wire obviously to keep the owls from flying away, but again, it's picked up the eye really well. It's sharp, you know, it's done a great job of zoning in on the subject there. Next up we have an otter, and again it found the face and the eye really well, and if we zoom in you can see his little teeth in there and the whiskers and all sorts. So as you'd expect, you know, it's a decent lens and you'd expect it to do, but when you look at it straight out of camera, it's still pretty good. And this is the raw file, so there's no editing done on this at all. The one on the right is the one with edits. Another otter photo, probably bored of posing for photos, but again, the repetitive theme now, it is still sharp, and the one on the right looks even better after a few minor edits. And then we have these two here, again otters that picked out the face really well. They weren't quite on the same plane, and I am at f2.8, so this head down here is a bit out of focus because the camera has picked up the top head, but again it looks pretty good edited, and again straight out of camera, very clear, very sharp. Again we're at ISO 250 2.8, so really nice. And then the last one is a real quick portrait of Max, which I've done before. A little bit dark, I must admit, on the one on the left, so probably a little bit underexposed, but it's got a good balance and a good range through the whole photo, and we've been able to bring it back in it with a few edits here. If we go into the eye, you can see that it's done a great job of picking up the eye. We've got the nose is slightly out of focus, but the eye is pretty good. And again, the unedited version on the left, a little bit dark in the eyes, but we can soon fix that in post. So that is it. I know there's nothing too technical there, but they're my thoughts on the RF 70 to 200 2.8. The cost, new, is about £2,700. I'm sure there are some deals to be had. You can get them second hand for around 2,000. I'm going to look forward to using it. I've got some jobs coming up, and this will be the first lens on my camera, I think. So that's it. Thank you for watching me ramble on for 5 or 10 minutes. They are my initial thoughts, and like I say, stay tuned because I'm hoping to do a comparison between the two videos of taking photos of the same subject in the same environment, and we can see the difference between a 25-year-old lens and a 2-year-old lens. I think it was released in 2020 or 2021, this lens. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me. If you haven't subscribed, please do click that button, subscribe to the channel, comment, share, do all the things you're supposed to do that will help me out massively, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.